Welcome back to another episode of the Meal Prep Monday podcast. I'm your host and founder of Prep Dish, Allison Schaaf. Today, I am joined with Jen Keel of Pretty Farm Girl, and I'm excited for y'all to hear our conversation. We go sort of all over the place talking about her building up this business, this skincare line. And then it was really cool to hear how she has her kids involved. It's really a family business and something she's really passionate about. And we get into that as well. So excited for you to listen in. And I will say, so if you're watching on YouTube, unfortunately, it was the day we recorded raining where she's based in Florida. So in order to have better audio quality, we ended up cutting the video, but the audio is still there, still a great interview. So, thank you for listening in, but that's why there is not the video that we usually have for our interviews. Before we get into the content, I wanted to read from a Prep Dish subscriber, Holly. This is what she has to say. This program has been a huge relief. It's what I've tried to do on my own, but even when using apps, I am cross-referencing too many things while trying to prep. Thank you for this program. It has really bought back hours and hours of stress and time each week. Thank you for sharing, Holly. And yes, that is one of our goals. We want to make it so much easier for you. I know, yes, in theory, you can collect recipes and try and piece them together and create a prep day and all of that, but we want to take all of that heavy lifting off of your shoulders and do that for you. So if you are curious to try out Prep Dish, go to prepdish.com/MPM, short for Meal Prep Monday. We have 14 days free. You can try it out, see if it works for you, see if it saves you that time, that stress that Holly referenced there in what she had to share. Okay, let's go ahead and get in today's interview with Jen Keel of Pretty Farm Girl. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. I am here with Jen Keel of Pretty Farm Girl. Excited to have her on the show today. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Allison. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming. I'm really excited to have you on today. I think there's just so many directions we could take this conversation. But before we get in, why don't you just share with listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Okay. Well, my husband and I, we bought a farm about 6 years ago, moved out to the country, and we have about 5 acres. We have 5 female goats, 2 horses, 4 ducks, 26 chickens, 1 rooster, 1 dog, 2 cats. Pretty much, I think that's everything. We moved out here so that we could homestead and have eggs from the farm, have milk our goats, and just have a more natural life for our children. We have 3 children, and I homeschool my oldest 2. And just this year, my youngest, my 6-year-old, started going to a Montessori school. But, they pretty much are here doing chores and homeschooling on the farm, basically.
Oh, that's awesome. And I know we were talking a little bit before, but there's a lot of parallels. We maybe have not been so successful in all of our homestead adventures, but we have a very similar setup here in terms of acreage and animals. My goats are not letting me milk them. So
okay, yes, they can be stubborn for sure. Yeah. A French Alpine is our first goat we ever got, and she produces a lot of milk. So I don't know what breeds you have, but she is definitely my favorite and easiest to milk too.
So as far as we know, they're all Alpines, but I think that the female that's lactating, we bought her from someone else, and we have a feeling that the reason he sold her was because she wouldn't let anyone milk her.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We have a similar situation with one of ours too. So I feel your pain.
Oh, but her baby girl is currently pregnant, and I'm working on her, and I'm thinking she might let me milk her. So fingers crossed.
I hope so. Yeah, it's great because we have had so much milk the last few years that we freeze it, and then we use it to make the goat milk soap for Pretty Farm Girl. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So talk a little bit more about Pretty Farm Girl. Was that something when you moved out there that you knew you wanted to create? Was that created before or after the move? How did that?
Well, not really. It started with my own skin issues. which was about 10 years ago, actually more like 12 years ago, after the birth of my second child, I developed psoriasis. And I don't know how familiar you are with psoriasis. It's an autoimmune condition. And I went to the dermatologist at that point, and they did what they do and just basically said, here's your steroid cream, and you're going to pretty much deal with this your whole life. And so there you go. That's what you have. And I wouldn't, take that for an answer. So that pretty much started my journey, my whole health journey. I felt like we were pretty healthy before that, but now looking back, it was, we're on a different level now. So my skin condition, it got to the point where I couldn't put anything on my skin. I had a rash, around my mouth, on my eyelid, all the way down my neck, behind my ears, open sores. So I had to clean out everything that we had. My makeup, I couldn't use anything on my skin. And so it started from there. I started to research, and of course, your health comes from within. So I started a whole journey of, healing my gut, and, along with getting the toxins out of our house. And so then I was doing the GAPS program. I don't know how familiar you are with her book, Dr. Natasha Campbell, but in her book, she talks about tallow as an ingredient, an old-fashioned remedy for skin problems. And so I looked into it, and there was nothing you could get at the store at that time that has tallow in it. So I researched, and then I started making basically my own cream, and it worked. It was something I could use on my skin. I could use it on my babies at the time, and it was great. So that is pretty much where things started as far as making my own skincare.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some of the best products, that's how they come about. It's a necessity and a personal necessity.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
good for you.
So thank you. So that's where it started. And what I was doing, I started to make soap after that, and it just kind of grew from there. And then I was gifting it to people, friends and family, and then gifting it at school for my kids' teachers, and it grew from there. People were asking, how they could get more. And so then I started to sell it, just, local and very small scale. And then COVID happened. And so at that point, I've homeschooled my kids ever since. And at that point is when I opened an Etsy shop, and just continued from there. We have grown from there. So now I have prettyfarmgirl.com and make lots of different soaps. And we got the goats along the way. I think, I was making soap a little bit before. And then once we got the farm, it was, one thing after another. I knew how great of an ingredient goat milk was. And so we started adding it to the soaps along with the tallow. And yeah, that's where we're at.
That is such a cool story. And, and looking at your store site, and we talked before the call, I have one of the team members on Prep Dish was just raving about all of your products and how I needed to talk to you, and just really impressed with what you've created. The question that I think my listeners are going to want to know is, how are you balancing it all? How are you prioritizing fitting in this, thriving skin?
I got you. Sure. Well, I have my kids now. I have a 15-year-old, 12-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So, they're a little older now. With my 15-year-old, she helps so much. And my 12-year-old, they both do. So how do I balance it? Well, when things really got busy and going, that was during the COVID period of time. So we were home and just all together. And it's so cute because they actually helped me open my Etsy shop. My daughter, at the time, she was 12, and she, would help me take the pictures, and actually, they're so much more tech savvy than we are, whether we like it or not. And she helped me open up my Etsy shop and take pictures, and and then they helped me with shipping, they still help at the shop. So they're a big part of it. And then as far as the farm goes, they have chores. That's why we moved out here, so that they could have this life. My daughter, my oldest, rides horses. So, those are her babies. We have a miniature horse and we have a full grown, and so she takes care of them. And then the goats, they both are responsible for milking. So every morning, they're out there with their buckets and they go and they milk the goats and they feed everybody. And then in the evening, it's more of a team effort. In the evening, we're all kind of outside and we take care of the animals. And then on the weekends is when, there's the stuff that needs the other maintenance, like cleaning up the coops and the barn and, things like that. But it's definitely a team effort. I could not do it without, them doing their chores and responsibilities. So, and then my husband has a huge, part too. He has been working from home for the last few years. And so he's able to help at, that's the part I forgot to tell you. So when my business started, I was making everything in my kitchen. So that was not easy, but we made it work. And we had a pole barn on our property. And my husband said, if you get to this certain point, we'll close it in and I'll build you, a soap making studio. So that was kind of the deal. And it happened. It happened in that first year. We hit the goal. And then it took about a year to make our workshop. So now I have a beautiful workshop right here on our land. So that's where everything is made. I will say the first few years working from home, homeschooling the kids, doing everything, that was tough. It was not easy, but we got through it. And like now at this point, I have help with my house at the workshop. So I'm not doing it alone, not at all.
Well, and I just think it's so cool that you've intertwined, and it sounds like, the business and the homeschooling play off of each other a lot. So it's not
definitely
separate. It's all kind
Yeah.
of plays together.
Yes. And that's how it's been from the get-go. And it's really neat. My daughter, she's very interested in skincare, and that's kind of the direction that she's going, like, to be an esthetician. So it's really cool. I mean, they have a huge part in it, and they're learning life skills for sure.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
When
and then my little one has a share too. She's in school right now, but when she's home, she's just constantly in. She's a farm girl at heart. She's lived on the farm her whole life. So she's out there with the animals and likes to ride the horse too. And just it's adorable.
Yeah,
So,
mine are 3 and 4. So
okay. So you have little ones.
yeah,
Yes.
you know, they're involved too, and it's just, I
Yep.
think you start them young and they do what they can. And I try and just, they'll help feed the goats and maybe more of the feed ends up on the ground, but then the chickens come by and eat it. So I'm like,
Yes.
I'm training for future years. So
Yes. Oh, yeah. It will get so much easier when they can help you. Yeah, when we first started, there a lot fell on me, but man, it was worth it because where we're at now is a great spot. So hang in there. It will get easier.
yes, I love seeing you've helped provide the vision that I need. So.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah.
So I want to get a little bit into planning aspect, and not just meals, but just when you're looking at either your week or your day, are you using certain tools or strategies? Do you use a day planner? How are you planning out everything that needs to get done week to week and day?
Wow. I wish I were more organized because I did notice you with all your meal planning, and that is beautiful. I have moments that, yes, that I am very organized. I'm kind of old school. I have a big calendar and I write everything on it. And I'm trying to get a little more tech savvy and use my phone for things like that. But no, I love your meal plan. And I think that would definitely help a lot. We make all of our meals every evening, and it's a lot of work. My daughter is definitely getting involved in cooking. I have her cook dinner a few nights a week, and my son every once in a while as well. But yeah, as far as planning, I definitely on the weekend, on Sunday, I plan out the week and use my big calendar, but I don't have like an app or, anything. I'll have to learn that from you.
Oh no, I think the writing it out, I still like day to day have a task list that's written out in a physical day.
Okay.
And I do have some apps that I use for tracking other items, but I think there's just something that pen to paper, I really would hate to ever see that go away. Because I think there's something that clicks in our brains when we're doing pen and paper that just doesn't happen when it kind of disappears into the ether.
I agree.
So
Yep, I feel the same way.
yeah, so I agree with you on that. So I would like to hear a little bit more on your products. What is your do you have either a favorite or maybe one that's like your signature product? And tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Okay. I would have to say my signature product or my favorite would be the body butter. That's the first, product I ever made. And if we've tweaked it and made it better, but the tallow, I don't know how familiar you are with tallow, but it's basically similar to our own skin, the sebum in our own skin, and full of essential fatty acids. So it's just very healing and locks in moisture. So when you have any kind of skin condition like eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis, it's very healing. It has a natural source of vitamin A, D, E, K, just natural. And it's just very nourishing for your skin. And I find it's healing. So that's the first product I ever made. And it's still my go-to. And I use on my son recently kind of had some dry skin on his hands, and I'm like pulling out my tallow cream, but I have 3 different ones. The original was like a lavender and a vanilla, but now we have a fragrance free. So many people wanted just a simple product without any kind of essential oil because I don't use any fragrances. I mean, I use essential oils only. So no artificial fragrance. So that one is becoming our most popular item, the fragrance-free body butter. So it's very simple, very clean with a tallow and an olive oil and a vitamin E, and it's just very nourishing for the skin. Our soaps too, I mean, I'm pretty partial to the soaps too. Milk and honey is probably my favorite, which is funny. That is also an unscented bar. My most 2 popular items are unscented. So that's who comes to us are people with skin conditions. We kind of cater to anyone that's dealing with a skin issue. So fragrance free is pretty popular. But the milk and honey with the tallow and the goat milk, and we put oats and honey in it, and it's just very, very soothing for the skin, very different from what you would get at the store. It's different from a lot of natural soaps. Well, they claim to be natural soaps, but they still have, fragrance oil in them or coloring. So we don't use any kind of the colors. We just use clay. So it's really clean, natural soap. I created what I wanted to use on my own skin and on my family, and that's what we have stuck with.
No, that is awesome. And so with Prep Dish, we talk a lot about quality of food and ingredients that you're using in your meals, but there's 2 sides to, being healthy. I think it's what's going in your body, but also what you're putting on your body. So much of that is
Exactly.
being absorbed. And I think
Yeah.
more people are realizing that can, if you are having health issues, you need to look at both sides of it. Look what's going in your body as well as on your body. And I will give
Right.
so my neighbor has goats and goat milk. So I have always used her goat milk soap, and it does wonders for my skin. And it's the same
Oh,
thing
nice.
or anything like that. And she just kind of does it on a small scale at the farmer's market and stuff. But I think
Right.
It's so high quality.
Yeah,
Love that
it
you're
is. Yeah, like
focusing on that side of things.
definitely. Oh, yeah.
Well, great. This has been so interesting. I feel like we could just continue on a lot of these topics, but we are coming up on time. Do you have any final thoughts to share with the listeners?
I think, where I get asked a lot where to get started with cleaning up, their skincare. And I would say just start small. You don't have to throw everything out, just replace one product at a time and kind of go through there. There's so many beautiful clean ingredients and products available now that we really don't have to use the artificial stuff anymore. We really can have, clean products. It's easy. So I would say just start small and go from there.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice. And I would just add in that it's very similar to what I talk about with food. If I feel like reading the ingredients label is so important with both food products as well as skin products. So great. Well,
Absolutely. Yes.
let everyone know how they can find you, where they can, buy your products and all of that.
Okay. Our website is prettyfarmgirl.com. And that is my main website. I'm also on Etsy. And then on Instagram, we have a pretty big Instagram account going pretty and then underscore farm girl. And you can find us on there.
Great. Thank you, Jen. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Jen, thank you so much for the interview. As I said, everyone go check her out, the skincare line. I'm so impressed with it. If you read the ingredients labels, I can tell that it was born from, a real need and just such great work that she's doing. So thank you for coming on and sharing today. And then a final reminder that if you want to try out our time-saving meal plans, there's a free trial set up at prepdish.com/MPM. When you sign up for that, you will get a done-for-you grocery list, a done-for-you prep day that'll make everything really easy. All you need to do is spend about an hour prepping your meals in advance. And then at dinner time, it will be easy. I promise you. Try it out. Let me know how it goes. Again, that's prepdish.com/MPM. If you are a longtime listener of this podcast, I always appreciate your ratings and reviews. They just help other people to find our podcast, and I enjoy reading them. So thank you for doing that if you have not done so in the past. That's all I have for this week. I'll be back again next Monday with another episode.